Episode 583. While Ma Chen-yi was lost in thought, the next match had already begun. This match offered the audience nothing new either, just another display of Happy Internet Cafe's overwhelming strength. Once the brawler closed the distance, a tiger-like barrage of strikes left the sharpshooter utterly defenseless. In comparison, this match was over the quickest. At this point, no one was focused on who won or lost anymore. The real question was, who would show up next for Happy Internet Cafe? After that match concluded, Chen Guo smiled and said,
"That's about it, right?"
Is that all?
"What about you two?" they asked. Chen Guo just smiled without a word.
Then let me have a go with the two I haven't fought yet.
The Blade Master player said.
Me too.
The sharpshooter also requested.
All right.
Chen Guo nodded in agreement. With no new characters making an entrance, the crowd's interest immediately waned by more than half. The top players from Happy Internet Cafe were overwhelmingly strong. These two were simply no match for them. A match without any suspense usually doesn't attract much of a crowd. Still, watching a master at work is never a bad thing. The onlookers' enthusiasm had waned, but they still stuck around to watch the remaining matches. As everyone expected, both of them lost 2 more matches each. In the end, each had lost 1 match to all 4 masters, for a total of 8 losses.
Impressive.
The 2 challengers who had lost 8 matches in a row didn't look nearly as upset as everyone expected, which earned them a bit of grudging respect from the onlookers. The whole show of force even benefited Ma Chen-yi, making things a little less awkward for him. After watching the match, the next thing to do, of course, was to watch the experts. Yet, the 4 masters seemed utterly unaware of the attention, each remaining calmly seated in their places. It was a display of true composure. To the crowd, this seemed like a grand display, but to those 4 masters, it was probably just a trifle, hardly worth a second thought. The ordinary onlookers were one thing, but the 2 who had come to challenge the place were the last to rise. They paid their respects to each of the 4 hosts in turn, offering sincere praise, and then, after expressing a desire to seek further guidance if the opportunity arose, they left with Ma Chen-yi. Thanks to their relatively gracious exit, the trio's departure didn't seem all that pathetic. In fact, it even managed to stir up a bit of sympathy from some onlookers. Given the circumstances, Chen Guo didn't stoop to playing the villain and mocking them. Ma Chen-yi had lost the battle, but at least he hadn't lost face. Once the 3 of them had left, the 4 experts and Chen Guo exchanged a look, then returned to their seats to continue gaming. Many of the onlookers, curious players themselves, wanted to test their skills against the 4, but each challenger was politely, yet firmly, turned down. The crowd could only accept it. The whole challenging the establishment drama seemed to have fizzled out just like that. Tang Ru was stuck at the front desk, unable to log into the game herself to watch the matches. Her character was still on the 10th server, while these duels involved characters from the Heavenly Domain and were naturally taking place in the Heavenly Domain's arena. While Glory's arena is cross-server, it doesn't cross over with the Heavenly Domain. The Heavenly Domain's arena is essentially a higher-tier arena. A player's win-loss record is calculated separately between the standard arena and the Heavenly Domain arena. Each arena also features different quests and different rewards. Tang Ru ended up having to watch the arena matches by peering over at the screens of people sitting nearby. She'd thought she'd get to fight in this challenge, but she found Chen Guo had made no such arrangements. As for those 4 so-called experts, Tang Ru actually knew them all. One was a regular at Happy Internet Cafe, another was one of the cafe's own managers. Tang Ru had been at Happy for a long time now, and she was playing Glory herself. She knew perfectly well that these 4 were no experts. She also knew that these 4 were definitely people Ma Chen-yi had never seen before. Chen Guo's arrangement here was clearly deliberate. As for the matter of the expert, Tang Ru had pretty much figured it out.
Keep an eye on things. I'm heading up.
Chen Guo clearly knew Tang Ru would have no trouble figuring it out. She exchanged a knowing look with her, gave a quick wave, and then hurried back upstairs. When Chen Guo pushed open the door to private room 203 on the second floor, her first thought was that the ventilation in this room was still far from adequate and needed to be improved. How long was I even gone? How much did Yi Shu smoke by himself in here? The smoke was so thick it made Chen Guo's head spin, and for a moment she could barely see Ye Shu through the haze.
Huh? Did he leave?
Yi Shu's voice sounded almost ethereal in the smoke. Shen Guo propped the door wide open to air out the smoke, but she stayed outside for the moment, not going in. All 4 computers in the private room were switched on, and the 2 Chen Guo could see from her vantage point were already sitting idle at their desktops.
I'm heading out.
Chen Guo said.
What reaction?
No reaction at all. He just conceded very humbly and left.
Yeah.
Yi Shu gave a simple reply.
What are you up to?
Reviewing the 8 matches we just played.
Chen Guo steeled herself and finally stepped into the private booth, taking a seat next to Ye Shu. Sure enough, Yi Shu was watching the match he'd just played, but he wasn't scrutinizing it with the same meticulous detail he used for pro matches. He'd just set it to double speed and hadn't bothered switching camera angles. At first, Chen Guo thought it was the main player's perspective, but after watching for a bit, she realized it was indeed the main perspective, just the opponent's.
So, how are these two?
Their skill is decent, but they're still a long way from the pro level.
Of course it couldn't be a pro. What pro would even set foot in an internet cafe?
Who it is doesn't matter. Did they record it?
They did. Every single match.
Looks like I guessed right.
Yi Shu gave a nod.
But how did the Red Sun Internet Cafe get involved in this?
It's not really that important. I just needed an excuse to come over.
So, how did those 8 matches go for you?
4 distinct styles. An average player might not notice, but if a pro got their hands on it for analysis, they definitely think it was a different person.
The people from Excellent Era should know you pretty well.
They're only familiar with one autumn leaf.
Yi Shu said.
Are you telling me your other classes are all as good as your battle mage?
It was true that Yi Shu was called the Glory textbook, but that was mainly because he was one of the earliest players in the scene. Back then, the professional league hadn't even been established, and Glory was just a simple online game. Back then, Ye Shu was already a legendary player. His research and guides on every class were widely circulated and incredibly influential. After joining the Pro League, he used the Battle Mage 1 Autumn Leaf for over 7 years. While the textbook nickname stuck, the focus shifted squarely onto his Battle Mage skills themselves, cementing his status as the Battle God.
Not that bad.
Yi Shu's answer let Chen Guo breathe a little easier.
But it's not that far off.
That follow-up remark then gave Chen Guo another jolt thanks to the word freak. If he's at that level, then he must be at least pro tier in every class, right?
How do you even have that much time?
Chen Guo was amazed. Practicing one class for an hour each day would mean 24 hours gone, leaving no time for anything else.
It's about accumulation.
Shen Guo nodded, and then Ye Shu added,
And of course, talent.